Hello, 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 and welcome to Macca in Your Attic, a Paul or Nothing spin-off show where the guest always shows me their junk. Yes, I know this feature is a little less regular than I'd like at this point, but hey, I'm just glad to be back chatting about the Big Mac himself. Shortly, we're going to be going through my guest's attic, as it were, to sift through the tit and the tat to find the primo McCartney memorabilia. We're going to see 5 or so uniquely interesting, strange, fun, sentimental items from their Paul McCartney collection, each with their own story, hopefully. As always, be sure to check out the Patreon page for access to loads of episodes still in the can, and hit me up at paulmccartneypod@gmail.com or on Twitter at McCartneypod if you want to say hello. Today, everyone, I'm joined by one of my favorite types of guests in recent months on this program, and that is just people whose collections I've already been following on Instagram for months. I'd like to think I know some of what I'm about to see here today, but that'll hardly be the case, as I'm sure with these labyrinthine, collections and walls and shelves worth of stuff for me to process. He's very kindly come on today to show some of them off in a little more detail and chat about collecting in general. Everyone, please welcome Justin, aka at My Beatles Vinyl on Instagram. What's going on, dude? Thanks for coming in.
I'm very good. Yeah, really good. And I literally have been in the attic today, getting things down, rifling through to find stuff. Because there's just so much stuff in the house, like the garage and the loft, all over the place. Things I've long forgotten about. But yeah, it's quite apt, Macca in the attic, and he is up there in lots of different forms. Books, papers, records, CDs, tapes, you name it. There's lots of them. But yeah, it's good to kind of have a bit of a rummage and a bit of a look back over the last 30 odd years or so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Normally people either have a Beatles room or it's all stuff in the attic, but I see it's gotten a little bit out of control with you. It's in the garage, the attic, the Beatles room, probably not in the Beatles room as well, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that cause any friction at all, or is it all in balance?
Well, I've been collecting for years. And when I met my wife years ago, I introduced her to the collection quite early on, so she knew what she was getting herself in for.
Before your parents, you got to meet my Beatles collection.
Just look at all my albums.
Yeah.
So I'm in my, I work from home, so this is like my Beatles room stroke office, and it's all very much contained here. All the good stuff's in here. But yeah, it's a family love, I'd say. So 2 grown-up kids, they love it as well, so they can't really knock. They've been, brought up with it from day one, to be fair. But yeah, it is happily contained in this one room, thankfully. Otherwise, it would just be like, a museum every place. So yeah, one room is enough.
Oh, I can see a yellow submarine Lego set behind you there. Excellent. That was.
There is, yeah, and it's being overlooked by an original old knackered old corgi one.
Yes. No, I need to get into some corgi stuff. I need to start looking at Beatles action figures as well. Sealed, still in the case, but
yeah,
that is definitely a bonus episode in its own right. Stepping across that final threshold. I'm still mostly in the music stuff right now. I still regret buying those McCartney stamps the other year, but
Oh yeah, they're here. Yeah.
They were certainly something to be a talking point, if nothing else. But
yeah,
you know what? Starting off, let's go back to those early collecting days. Do you remember when you first started getting into the Beatles and McCartney and all the other solo?
Oh yeah, it was really, really young actually. One of my items is kind of like one of my first memories, really. But a lot of it kind of pins on my dad, who's sadly no longer around, but he was a massive fan. He kind of grew up in the 60s. And I was 14, and he gave me, my parents split, we moved to a different part of the UK, so moved down south, and kind of almost like a bit of a parting gift, I would say. He kind of gave me his albums and his 45s, which he'd had most of them, but not all of them, and I really looked after them. We kind of bought them as they came out. And so I just got the bug really early on. So this was like really early 90s, late 80s, that I thought, right, I've got this collection now. I just need to grow it. And there began a 30 plus year thing with just collecting. And it was really hard in the early days, because there wasn't eBay, there wasn't Discogs that you could just log on to. It was literally, let's go to a stinky old record fair in a church hall. and just thumb through all these crates, which is now quite in vogue. You know, crate digging is like is the thing to do, isn't it? But back then, yeah, that was really hard to find stuff, and it took me years to kind of get the first, you know, all the original UK ones initially. I don't know, probably about mid-90s, and then from then onwards, it's just grown and grown. Collected loads of Paul stuff, load of George, remasters, you name it. It's just things just evolve, and you know, it's the perfect thing that people buy for Christmas as well and birthdays. And maybe you're a bit of a fan, so you end up with more stuff. So yeah, it was really early 90s, and actually thinking back, I was almost a little bit embarrassed about it, which is quite mad now, isn't it, to think that how in the Beatles are. But back then, you know, I was seen as a bit of an odd one for liking them, liking an old band and doing that at the weekends rather than playing football and kind of going out and stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of a labour of love, those early years of finding bits and pieces in like I say, stinky old halls, but it was well worth it.
Well, speaking of those days, how did you know what to look for back then? If there's no Wikipedia to tell you the entire discography.
Yeah, I had a record collector book from the year, I think it's like the 91 version of 1990, which had all the different issues in there.
Oh, wow.
And a British hit singles book. So they're my two kind of Bibles that I used to use, and you know, they were really well thumbed. Still got them somewhere in the garage probably. And that I used to kind of just go through there, and although it didn't give you the press-in number or the etch-in numbers or whatever, you could kind of work out which ones they were by the label, by the fold on the back. So yeah, that's what I kind of went with really, and just kind of talking. We used to go to Beatles fairs, Beatle events in London in the early 90s, and kind of met quite a network of people there, you know, real hardcore collectors then, who just kind of, you know, shared a few tips. But yeah, it was quite primitive, really. Looking back on it, how easy is it now to go on your phone and kind of look what pressing you've got? You know, it takes seconds. 1990 would have taken me weeks to try and find out which one it was. So yeah, things have come a long way in that time.
You know, just as it's easy for us to look up something quickly, it's also just as easy for any slightly forgetful vendor to also, just before they take the cash from your hand, to go, actually, oh, apparently a signature from all four Beatles is valuable. Sorry, I have to charge more than 50p now.
And you see that all the time. I bought some stuff the other day from a record shop. It's a really cool one I found in Bridport, and if there was no prices, and to be fair, you know, the guy was saying he had so much vinyl in this room, and he showed me inside the warehouse at the back. He said, take your pick of what you want. None of it was priced, but the way he priced it was by looking it up to then kind of come up to like a decent number, which I was cool with. You know, it was really genuine. But I think back then people were like, yeah, 10 quid, 20 quid, 30 quid, you know, take your pick. But yeah, you can be really precise now with all the stuff that's out there. But yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people that add on to kind of really get the most out of it. But
dude, I'm at a prime age when I remember when Beatles vinyl was still cheap. I remember getting Magical Mystery Tour for a £5, Let It Be for about 8 quid, Revolver for about 12. You know, now it's secondhand, it's back up to 25. It's easily more than double. New in HMV, it ain't going to be in the 2 for £20 section. It's £30 each. Yeah. You know, it's the premium is back, and a lot of these box sets certainly aren't helping that. You know, none of us have stuck to our guns and voted with our pounds and gone, I'm not going to buy those 12 copies of McCartney 3. Actually, just before we get into this, as long as it's not one of your 5 items, how many copies of McCartney 3 did you end up grabbing?
I've only got 2.
Only two. So got the Rhodes, which is quite a nice one. It's one of the 3000 ones, so it's 1200 and something, and reimagined. Oh, okay, that's a nice cover for me.
So I've got those 2. But I've gone to the habit, if I buy new now, I don't open them, so I leave them sealed. I mean, it kind of like, it's a bit anal, isn't it? But I thought, actually, I don't really want to get them open. But yeah, I've only got those 2, and I quite like it. You know, it's probably one of the first albums in, you know, a while, Paul's, that I've actually thought, I could listen to that over and over again in the car. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of buying every single version in every single colour on CD, vinyl, you name it. Otherwise, there'll be another room for the stuff that I don't really, you know, I much prefer going for the older the older bits.
So you'd rather have fewer more bespoke items than say, like some of my guests who can thumb through their 12 copies of Magical Mystery Tour, their 18 copies. I mean, I'm on 7 copies of Chobber now. One of them a bootleg as well. So I feel like, in the Dark Knight when like the Joker's saying Magnus just needs a little push. Like I'm just on the precipice now of being like.
At what point, isn't it? What point do you stop? Yeah.
No, but like, on like true crime documentaries, they always have that moment when like the guy who went on to murder 30 people could have turned back, but no, he's now buying his 14th copy of Uela Soleil. It's
the X disc, yeah.
A Netflix documentary on a guy who's addicted to vinyl could be quite funny, actually.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of us out there, I'm sure, but it's just so bloody expensive. And that's the thing now, is that I think when you go to, and I still love buying it, but like even like the new Revolver box set, you touched on it earlier. So I think it's 180 quid.
190, I think.
189. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but I thought I can't not get it. I've got to. I've got to order it. It's got to go with the box set. It's over here. I can't not.
Yeah.
I just have to get it in. Which is a real kind of change of mentality. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I thought, there's no way. And I probably missed some really good box sets in like the late 2000s, possibly. I wasn't really
Stand on the Run,
at that
kind
stage.
of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I can see some box sets behind you, though. I'm guessing maybe you've probably got a Flaming Pie one. You've probably got something to do with All Things Must Pass recently. Just looking at that, there's at least 2 reissues of Imagine behind you on vinyl. That has to be at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, your eyes are good.
Yeah.
So Let It Be. And actually, I lied about McCartney 3 because it's in the box set as well. So there's that version.
Oh, now let's just talk about that box set. Wasn't that impressed, if I'm completely honest. It seems like just a slapped together thing.
Yeah.
My copy came damaged as well.
Really? What, vinyl?
No, so two of the inner sleeves were torn. The box top right corner was dented, and then there were thumb marks on McCartney 1.
Oh no, that's not good.
Thumb marks, yeah,
not good.
Yeah, and the fact that it comes, I mean, I can hear Ken Michaels laughing right now because there's no bonus content on it at all. There's and then I bought the vinyl, like I didn't look, I just clicked coloured vinyl and I thought I won't look, I'll just see what it is. And like you've got a white one, a cream one, and a clear one. Yeah. It just seems to be the least imaginative 3 colours.
It's quite bland, isn't it?
You need a hot pink, a lime, and an orange. I mean, like that Ringo one that came out recently was like blue and orange. It looked great. Like if you've got coloured vinyl, and I'm assuming we're probably at a point where the difference between a red dye and a black dye for vinyl is moot at this point. It is just you are paying premium for a pretty colour, but do something fun with it. The splatter.
Exactly. Well, I was that unimpressed with that. Well, I say unimpressed. I just got it because again had to get it, and it's just sealed and put it straight on the shelf. So at some point in the future, I'm going to have to just think I need to open these and kind of enjoy them a little bit rather than just file them away in numerical order in name order. It just seems a bit pointless, but at the moment I'm quite happy just having them sealed up.
So do you actually mostly do most of your listening just on streaming and stuff then? Fair enough.
It depends. I think some of the newer stuff I'll stick on my turntable, but most of it is just Spotify just streaming all the time, to be honest.
It's too good, isn't it? I mean,
that's too easy. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I mean, I tell you what's sad. It gets to the point whereby sometimes I've listened to so many records and I've made such a mess already that now I just get my phone, connect it to the Bluetooth receiver in the turntable.
And
just play the album that way. And you don't have to flip it over. It is getting to the point whereby our vinyl collections are just there for posterity in case the situation with Russia escalates and we lose the electricity. It's like, no, don't worry. We've still got all the Beatles on analog. Don't worry, everyone.
We can still listen to it, yeah.
I can imagine like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max world where they're all fighting over the last Beatle albums,
I got recently Sentimental Journey, so Ringo's album, which I went after that for a while, and I mean, what a first kind of solo. So you got that, you got Imagine, McCartney, and All Things Must Pass. So poor old Ringo, you know, is like on the fourth order. But I listened to it on here, and it's awesome. And actually, it's kind of not the kind of album you would ever kind of go out to buy or put on Spotify personally, but just because I needed it and hadn't got it in the collection. And there is something about sticking the needle on the record and then flipping it onto side B. I think there is a real sense of it's a real moment to listen to an album. I think Spotify is so easy because you can just, you know, skip or pause or whatever. But with this, you've got to be quite attentive listening to it. So you kind of think, oh, that's song number 5, got to flip it in a minute. So yeah, it's quite nice having that one in the background actually. Not a bad album. Poor old Ringo.
What without being specific, was it more or less expensive to buy that one than you imagined? Because with albums like that, it's like, yeah, it's cheap because not a lot of people want it, but it also didn't sell all that much. Yeah. So then that bumps up the price again.
Exactly. Yeah. You know. Yeah, I think I paid about 20 quid for it.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, looking, you know, around what was around for that price, it's really good nick as well. But I think you're right. You know, I've never seen it, and all the times I've been out into shops looking, I've never seen it. I just got it from someone off saw on Instagram actually. Then the guy had his own Discogs page and has got it that way. So, but yeah, I haven't seen it ever in a store or in a whatever shop. So yeah.
You can't move for copies of the Ringo albums. Like, oh look, like every record store's got one at least, and it's three or four quid. That is so true. Same with Wings at the Speed of Sound. There's so many Wings at the Speed of Sound. It's like, oh, it's the Wings album at the height of their popularity that also wasn't very good. So of course it's everywhere. You can't move for it. Mary Had a Little Lamb, I find weirdly common. Another Day as well.
There are just certain ones, isn't there? There must have been, you know, producing them millions, and just it, you know, it's future kind of charity shop kind of fodder, isn't it? Where people just farm them out and that. Not those, but I think in general, you know, you always see the same kind of albums in the same kinds of shops, where they're just so mass produced. But no, I quite like the Ringo album actually. It's cool.
Who was the evil bastard who decided to only print 10,000 copies of Temporary Secretary, Secret Friend? I mean, like there was some executive going, Paul, this sounds awful. I am not wasting my money on printing 200,000 copies of this. We'll just have 10,000, and the fans in the future can kind of fight amongst themselves. I have a copy myself, but without the sleeve. So it's good, but it's not the whole cigar, really, is it? How long had you been collecting then before you started to do your Instagram page? When did that all start?
Well, again, so that was only a couple of years ago. I started that because all of this lot was in a box or boxes in the loft, and I had actually broken my foot. I was off work for a couple of weeks. So I was in this room. I was just really bored. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start putting all my stuff on Discogs, put everything down.
Well, that sounds so fun. Ooh.
Yeah, it was literally like, right, let's just work through it. Let's work out what I've got. And then just thought, well, I'm just going to start putting it on Insta because it's really nice just showing. And it's amazing just how many thousands, if not more, you know, millions of followers are out there that are into the same thing. I just think it's quite something really. So just got into a bit of a habit of doing it, and the more I've done it, the more things I keep finding. So I don't know how many posts I'm up to there. That's 250 odd posts, but there's still loads of bits around that I need to put on there. I just find it quite I don't know, it's quite cathartic, I'd say is the word for doing it. It's just a nice way to kind of just, actually, I've got that there. I haven't looked at that in years and years. Open it up, have a look, kind of work out which pressing it was, what year it turned up. It's always got, some of my dad's ones have got his writing on when he would have bought it. So he had it not on the cover, on the inner sleeve. And I think that's quite endearing to think that he would have had that in, I don't know, Revolver in '66, and he's written on there the date. So yeah, it's just quite a nice story to kind of like share, and build up quite a following actually, which is cool.
Of course, it can't be understated that the fact that Instagram in its formatting is a square and that vinyl is a square for the most part. There's a certain third eye, monkey brain, pineal gland thing. Oh, everything's symmetrical and nice. As long as you can take it where by the border of your carpet or your shelf is perfectly square, it's gonna look amazing. I also want to point out, folks, it's worth mentioning that even though it is called My Beatles Vinyl, you don't just show vinyl, you do show a lot of the other things in your Beatles collection as well. Is there one element of Beatles collecting that you just have no interest in? Like, will I ever catch you buying old wigs or Beatles bubble gum or lunch boxes or anything like that?
Yeah, I think if I had the money, I'd try and go down that route. But I think from what I've seen of it in the past and what's out there now, it's just so hard to get hold of. And what there is out there has just got such a premium. So I think I don't want to go down that wormhole of start collecting, the talc or the lunchbox or the plastic guitar, all of that stuff. Because I know that if I do, because it's about getting the whole thing, isn't it? The whole kind of project. I think, no, I just steer clear of that because I don't think my wife and kids would ever kind of forgive me for kind of, spending every last penny I've got on a Remco guitar. It's not really, it's not really worth it.
No, there must be some horror story tale out there for all Beatle collectors where there was a guy who was at the top of the world and then he bid on a Hofner and then he ended up on the street having to sell that Hofner to survive. And, so be warned, children, be warned, Never buy what you can't afford. I even say that to my patrons. If they can't afford to be a patron, don't worry, just let me know. We'll sort something out. Times now are more, there's just less bloody money about in the world these days in 2022. It's an awful time to be a collector in terms of spare cash, as it were. But, you can still find a bargain out there. Do you do a lot of eBaying and Amazoning nowadays, or do you mostly find stuff?
Kind of. I think eBay, for not only buying, not really selling, to be honest. I think it's a little bit risky because you never know quite what you're going to get. But I've got some really good stuff in the past. Some white albums, got all the anthologies on eBay, which again I missed those because when they came out, I got the DVDs and the book, and CDs. I didn't buy the vinyls. But quite often, and there's another one of my 5, which I've had to dip into eBay quite a bit to add to this additional collection, which I'll go into in a minute. But again, I think with eBay, that's just, you could lose hours, couldn't you? Just kind of scrolling through and looking for things. But it's just so easy to get it. Easy.
It's fun as well, though, especially if you had a drink. Drunk eBay is the best thing ever. But I'm having fun now with the keywords that I'm using in the searches to find really specific stuff, like typing in rare or lost or private or something. You can't type in the word bootleg because it's still illegal to sell bootleg albums that were pressed by companies that didn't exist 30 years ago. Sorry, that haven't existed for 30 years. Sorry. But you can still find them. You can still find the occasional one. One of my Snova VCCRs was from eBay, which totally shouldn't have happened. But I'm not going to call the feds. You know what I mean? But what about your local record store scene? Is there somewhere where you can pop down occasionally? Or
there's a really cool one. So I live near Bournemouth, and there's a really cool new store in Poole Old Town, and they do really good issues of like new copies, and they got a whole used selection at the back, which again is really reasonably priced. I got the bootleg of the Butcher's cover in there the other week actually, which is good, on blue vinyl. Again, it was like 20 quid. I thought, well, actually, I haven't seen that ever. So I just got to kind of grab it. I know it's a bootleg, but even so. So that's really cool, that shop. And there's another one in Bridport, also in Dorset, which is, I only found this recently. And the guy in there, and he was really kind of like teasing me. He's got this huge collection, but he's got this massive kind of showcase kind of cabinet full of Beatles memorabilia, not for sale, just to look at.
Oh, wow.
And it's just really like, oh wow, you know, it has all fan club stuff, all original dolls, and you know, literally 4 or 5 shelves of it. I can imagine, you know, the cost of that stuff would be in its thousands, but he had the most incredible used selection. It's the kind of shop when you go in, it made me laugh actually when you walked in, you had to put plastic gloves on, because I think there were just so much, something like disposable surgical gloves at the door. But he has some incredible stuff in there. And I mean, it's a bit of a hike from home, but it was well worth the visit to go and have a look.
What's the name of that place? Let's give them a little shout out.
It is Clock Tower Records in
Clock
Bridport.
Tower Records in Bridport.
Yeah.
Go and check it out.
It was awesome. Yeah, really cool. I said to him, you know, about White Album. I said, which ones have you got? Just think about the numbers. And he went out the back. No, Joe, you must have brought back a stack like that. I said, right, work your way through and have a look. And he said you can mix and match it if you want. You can kind of, you know, work out, you know, the cover to the insert, the pictures, the wall poster. He was great. So, yes, the Clock Tower Record. There's two shops he's got in Bridport. One in the High Street, which is more. You'd find the Ringo LP in there for £3. It's one of those. And he's got a really cool mannequin that David Bowie sat in the window in his like spaceman suit. And I thought, is this it? And he said, no, actually, if you go down to the antiques quarter, which is where it is, you'll find the second place. And he's got the Blue Meanie kind of hand pointing you to go into this place. It's really cool. And I was just sitting there for hours. It was just a really, really good haven to go and have a browse and a spend up. But yeah, so that's probably one of my favourites actually. And the one in Poole is Boiler Room Records, which is really good. Both of those places, yeah, they're good shops. Worth to drive to go and have a look. You always come away with something, which is worth it.
Awesome. I'm just going to see what my dog's barking at. Bear with me just one moment. Well, this will be cut out. There we go. What are you barking at? Nothing there. All right. Slide back into frame. Right, 5 more minutes, and then we'll go into the items.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, excuse me. There we go. So, you know, before we start getting into the items themselves, let's talk in more generalities. How do you feel about the modern state of McCartney and Beatle product? Do you feel like we're kind of reaching a saturation point? Do you think there's going to be a crash anytime soon? Or should we just be thankful that we're living in this real time of splendor and enjoy it while it lasts, you know?
Yes, it's a good question, actually, because you think, you know, is stuff just being churned out for the sake of being churned out again? But there's definitely a market for it, and I can see why Apple do it, and all the big corps that want to kind of push it through. But there's got to become a point soon. I think McCartney 3 is a classic example. You know, you don't need to do any more with Apple. You can leave that now and put it to bed. But I think the box set stuff, I think the 50-year anniversary stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Let It Be and All Things Must Pass. But I think there's going to come a point where we can't see another Revolver box set coming out in another, in 5 years' time, or another.
Oh, we can.
Yeah, probably will do. They'll probably find another version of the Taxman or something that's in the depths.
And then I mean, Giles Martin must have a son that's growing up now, and and then that son's going to take on the mantle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the best reissues that I got recently was Love. Well, I say recently, when that came out, and I was really anti listening. It's not going to be the same kind of thing. And when it was launched back in, I don't know, mid 2000s, I just bought it on CD. I thought that's amazing. And then we went to Vegas a couple of years ago, and we watched it in the show, and it was incredible. And then coming back from that, well, I now need to get the vinyl just to kind of like put it together with the tickets, everything. So those kind of issues, I think, are brilliant because that's just the reinvention. I think when they're just rehashing a remastered or a new mix, yeah, okay, there's obviously an appetite and a need for it, but maybe kind of leave some of this stuff now. Is it, we don't want to do it again and again and again. I think Get Back, last year was just phenomenal when that came out. That was just, I was off work that week. I took the week off on holiday, and it just so happened to be those 3 days, and I just couldn't believe my luck. So my wife and I just sat there and were just transfixed, like we were there with them in the room, and I've never seen anything like it. And the quality was just incredible. And funny enough, I was watching Anthology, which I'd got on DVD recently because I lost my old DVD, so I bought it only the other week, and watched one earlier this week, and the quality is rubbish. It's like that needs to be HD, that needs to be redone.
You know what? You've just taken the next bit out of my mouth. I was just thinking, like, one of the big reasons why we haven't had a rush for a Please Please Me box set is because everything that they recorded on that day is on the final album. So it's not like. I mean, the closest you might have is there might be a take of like "Hold Me Tight" that moved on to the next album or something. That's about it, unless you just put Cavern stuff and Germany stuff. You can't really do that. No. But with Anthology, there is rather again like the Yellow Submarine song track, like everything else had been upgraded and updated. The Yellow Submarine had been pushed to the wayside, and that needs to happen with the Anthology now, 100%. And you know what? You can make it. I mean, is each Anthology vinyl 2 vinyl discs already? I imagine so.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah, so vinyls. Yeah, they're pretty decent actually. The quality listening to it is okay. I think the actual the footage and how it's been produced is just really out of date. Peter Jackson needs to get hold of it and just revamp it and just do like a complete different version, I would say.
But you could update the documentary itself. You could put more footage in that. You could expand upon it. Maybe make it a little more tell all. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then you could also update the album as well, because there's still dozens of takes that won't be on the reissues that you can just give it us all, man. I mean,
just put it all out there now, one big hit. That's all we need. Yeah.
There is going to be a nexus point though where Apple won't have anything new to put out. Like there's the barrel has truly been scraped.
It has.
What happens
You're
then?
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's just when they finally shut up shop and say good night tonight.
Yeah.
But I really don't see that happening for a while. Like Enron, they're too big to fail.
They keep going. Yeah, they keep, like I said, they keep finding stuff in the back catalogue. There'll be a Mary Hopkin reissue at some point coming out soon, or a Billy Preston revamp version of something. They just keep dredging out all the artists, and we keep on buying it because it's. What I love about it when they do sell them is they are so well produced, packaged, and they're just nice things to have. So yeah, that's part of my hook is going into that, like that singles box on the back. That's I don't know if you've got that, but that's just such a nice bit of things to have because every single different cover in there from all the worldwide releases of all the singles. It's just good. It's just a nice thing. I never play them.
You know what? We're also never going to be short of modern artists cover the Beatles compilation albums. They will be going in perpetuity, keeping the fandom alive, of course, as well. Just before we do move on to your items, is there anything that has eluded your collection? Is there a white whale that you're currently hunting down? Maybe it was sniped off eBay at the last minute.
So there's a couple of George albums that actually there's only one. There's Brainwashed on vinyl that I'm after, which I just can't find. And the one Macca album that I really want to get is Wingspan. Whereas I know it's only a compilation. And
Dude,
it's
it
only
was
kind
so
of,
cheap back in the day. I swear.
I know.
I've done research.
Yeah.
It was like 15 to like £18 for like a double or triple vinyl box set.
Yeah.
No one bought it.
No, I know. And funny enough, when I was in that shop in Bridport the other week, he had it. And he wanted like 80 odd quid for it. And I was like, I just couldn't really bring myself to get it. But yeah, there's a few like separate collector bits or separate artist bit like that I need to just track down and find. The bit that I tried to find this for today, actually. I've got somewhere, I can only find a picture of it.
Somewhere.
Is that postcard with the press on signatures on the card.
Okay.
And it's worth a lot of money now, and I can't bloody find it. It's somewhere in the house. It's doing my head in because I just can't remember where it was last. It's got to be. It's here. I would never have thrown it away. But I was looking for that on eBay the other day and seeing how much it's going for. And I think, oh god, I need to find this card. They're not even real signatures. It was a fan club thing with it's like signature presses that have been put on there. They've actually indented. So it's a pretty cool little. It's just a standard postcard, but nothing else on it.
Right.
So yeah, I need to. If I can't find it at home, which I will, I'm gonna have to just try and source that because that's been in the collection as long as I can remember. But just I don't know where it is. It's gone.
Let's see if you've got any of my white whales. Have you got a vinyl off the ground? Oh, he's got one to hand. No,
I have.
No,
There it is.
Oh,
So that was.
Everyone's got one, but Sam.
Yeah. So I bought this. I was at school when this came out. So there was a little record shop near my school, and it was this about 92 when this came out. I think 91, 92.
So I was 1 year old at this point.
And they had it, and I thought, I'll buy it. And again, I've never played it. So that's like 30 odd years. That's just been kind of in a box. So, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's a good album. But yeah, it's Flaming Pie. I think it's probably one of my favourite ones.
Yeah.
Of that kind of era. And I've got that on vinyl, sealed.
What about the album I'm currently doing on the main podcast, Driving Rain? Do you have a copy of that? No,
that's one I haven't got actually. Of Paul's. I got Chaos and Creation the other week, or the other month.
There's a nice gold version of that as well, I think.
Is there?
Yeah, it's on his website. Like, if you go on McConnell's own website, folks, there's still surplus of stuff that never sold. Like the Frog Song coloured vinyl, like fun shaped disc that's still on the website. That was like 4 years ago, you know. You still get a Violet McCartney 3 on his website as well, and the cassette, you know, obviously that didn't sell.
That's that wormhole again, isn't it? You know, you jump into that, you'll never get out.
But I've seen it with other artists as well. Like other artists with their releases seem to also be putting out a cassette and a vinyl now, just to kind of test those waters.
It's tick all the boxes, isn't it, by doing every single format possible. Yeah.
Did Memory Almost Full have much of a vinyl release either?
No, and I haven't got that. I've got it on CD, like the.
Let's go on eBay right now.
That one, when it came out, it's like the little box, like the 2-disc.
Oh, is that like a DVD sized box?
Yeah, I think yes, it is. Yeah, with a couple of.
That's cool.
It's pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah.
I actually quite like that.
Yeah. So that was.
Why did that fall out of favour? That's cool.
It is cool, isn't it?
But
this 2 is just some extra bits on there, some talking, and then the main album on the first. So, but I haven't got that on vinyl. So,
I'm also a big fan of the cardboard DVDs from back in the day. Kids these days don't even remember them.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, back when Goodfellas was so long, you had to take the DVD out, flip it over like a laser disc. What black magic is this? There is no Memory Almost Full vinyl on eBay currently, but there's loads of copies. There was a promo disc that was put out in the Sun newspaper. I got that one as well for like
loads. Yeah.
Oh, the Memory Almost Full DVD with the pink cover. That's $11.50. I know this is really rip-roaring entertainment for everyone at home.
But it just goes to show how easy you can just tap on, find it, and buy it. And if you wanted it, you get that by tomorrow.
Oh no, they've got a vinyl. Holy wow!
Really? How much?
Okay, so there's one on its own with 0 bids, 3 days, 2 hours left, £210. We've got one that has 12 watches, £537, but you get a single as well. Oh, there's another one. Oh, right, here we go, folks. Right, what do you get this one? You get Memory Almost Full. You get something that's the front cover's like a crossword puzzle. Paul McCartney. Oh, the Amoeba Secret Gig. You get We All Stand Together and the Dance Tonight single. $594.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Let's just have one last quick check at Wingspan. Let's see what we got here, folks.
Yeah. Like I said, that one I saw was about 80 quid. And it was a bit tatty around the edges.
205. Oh, solo Paul McCartney collector pack, $1,305. Yo, there's some pretty rare stuff in here, actually. Wow. Wingspan, some Fireman stuff, Kisses on the Bottom vinyl. Ooh. Ooh. I'm getting a little hot under the collar here, dude. I really am. But no, let's not get too distracted, folks. Let's have a little trot up into Justin's attic right now. Fortunately, he's actually done the physicality of that for us right now.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have an episode where someone actually does have to get something out of an attic. The conceit thanks you.
Exactly. Actually, it was pretty cool because when I went up there, some of the stuff I think in Abbey Road Studios bag that was up in the loft, obviously. Went there last year actually for the open house tour thing, which is just awesome. So yeah, I had to go in the shop and buy loads of merch. That's just a dumb thing. But yeah, so
can I have a bag per item, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like a paper bag, a plastic bag, a Hessian bag, the whole works. This is probably one of the hardest things I've had to do is just to find 5 things. I thought, it'd be easy to just find 5 things.
If you've got more, you can quick fire blast through them after if you want. But
they're kind of some of the bits are quite connected. So I'm going to start with this. So when I was saying earlier about what I'm looking for at the moment is Beatles monthlies. So these are
rabbit hole time, folks.
It is. So I don't know how many I still need. There's quite a few there. So number 1, so I've got 1 up to 10, 18, and it goes up right till August 68, I think that one is. So there's probably about 50 more I need to get there. Now, the reason why I'm recollecting these is my mum, and she hates me telling the story because she had every single one. Number 1 to whatever it would have been in 69, 70.
I don't want to hear this story, Justin. I don't want to hear this.
And the story involved a house move and a bin bag, and the whole lot went. Literally, the whole lot went in the bag. And she still regrets it. But the one thing she did keep,
she should.
Well, I know. But the one thing she did keep was these, which are really nasty Beatles nylon stockings. Which I think it's about 1960, 64, possibly 63. So she was given these, and they've never been worn, thankfully. So they're still fresh as they were the day they were packed in the packet. But I don't know if you can see, they're really not pleasant. They've got the faces at the top and the signatures, and on the actual nylon, there's like an imprint. There's like guitars and faces and stuff.
Right. Oh man.
But for some reason she kept those, but chucked all the books out, which I don't know why she's never going to wear those, and she probably would have maybe read them. So that to me is a real genuine bit of Beatles memorabilia that I've got. So
that's so cool.
And she got another. I think she's got another pair still at home that hasn't got the packing, so she would have taken it out, kept that bit. But I don't know where they came from or how she got them, but she just remembers being given those by her mum, and they went in the same drawer. has ordered this long. So yeah, it's just criminal that they went out. But these are really, really great. You know, they're such simple little bits of Beatles.
Pulp. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, because they're so basic, aren't they? There's nothing in there. They're so simple. You know, what they've been doing this week. You know, what's Paul had for dinner this week. So
Where's
yeah,
Fotheringham Road? Yeah. Oh.
That was the first item really about. It's more so about the stockings, to be honest, because yeah, they were the things that that survived. So God knows where those things were. They probably went to the local tip and just gone forever. Back in the early 70s, late 60s, whenever it would have been that they went into that fateful bag to the tip.
What would a young Dustin Hoffman have felt if Mrs. Robinson, when she stuck her leg through the door?
For those, I think probably would have turned and walked back out, because they are. If you look at those on eBay, they're horrid. They're really, really not nice at all. So I'm sure that her mum would have got them marked down, probably reduced in a shop, because they pretty weren't a big set. I don't know how many of those are still in existence. Probably not a lot, because they're pretty quite fragile little things. But yes, that's item number one. So and somewhere with those is that postcard with the signatures on, which I need to really find.
Folks, if anyone out there can find me a Beatles garter, some knickers, a little bralette as
a bra, a nightie,
maybe a Beatles whip and chain leather mask, who knows? Even I might get dressed up for the next episode.
Well, yeah, people think it's a bit strange to say, I've got some Beatles stockings at home.
Yeah, hello.
And it's like, and they're not worn. But yeah, so that's pretty my. There's other bits of there's like the cup and the mug and the plate and stuff. But though I think there's just such a nice story behind those, because they would have gone. They stayed and the books went. But ironically, onto the next thing. So obviously my mum was a big fan, and like I said, my dad was as well. So when one of my earliest memories, so I go on to my second item. So he gave me these albums, and I just remember I must have only been about 4, listening to Abbey Road, listening to them sing "Here Comes the Sun," which is always a really nice kind of moment to think about. But I hadn't realised for years the one I had from him was the one with the old misaligned apple on the back, which is pretty cool.
Oh, awesome.
Which is again, I don't know how much.
Is it meant to be lower, like bottom left?
Yeah, no, it should just be in line with the writing.
Right.
So the other one I've got is. Yeah,
there we are, folks.
There we go. There's a in line and not in line. So for him playing that and then obviously giving the albums, years later, is a real sentimental journey with it. Funny enough.
I've been there myself. I got my copies of Pepper and Band on the Run and Wingspan from my late father as well. It's.
And there's just something about it, the fact that he would have gone down to his little local record shop, and he always used to tell me the story that this shop he would always go to, he was always into his music. The guy that owns the shop would always put the new release to one side, so one for Trevor when he came in. So whenever Dad went in there, he probably didn't really want it, but he felt compelled to buy it because the guy had put it to one side. So I got loads.
Delightfully evil yet kind customer service, that is. I'm going to start doing that with
that one.
I'm going to start doing that with drinks at my pub. I'm going to start making people daiquiris and make them feel guilty and have to buy it.
He gave me some really cool bits. So my white album is 26,000. I say it's a low one. It's pretty, there's much lower out there. But again, that's just a really nice one that he had given. But the main one that I really love from the collection is that, which is the box set.
The proper fuck me.
The real caboose, yeah. Which
it's got the book with it and everything.
Yeah, it's all in there. And I remember being doing some homework with him when I was probably about 10. So the album's it's never really been played.
You don't need to play that one. You've got your new one. You can play that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the book is in here, and I can remember sat with him one evening doing some music homework. I mean,
that's a great way of putting it.
And he said, I really need some pictures of some pianos for whatever I was doing at school. So he went and got this out the wardrobe, and he was there. Literally said, there's some pictures in here of Paul sat, and he said, it's the blues and the piano. And he went and got some kitchen scissors to cut them out. I was like, no, don't do that. I was like, are you sure? I said, no, it's fine, I can draw it. I'll trace it. Don't cut the bloody book up. So I managed literally to take it off and put it back. Because again, these were really badly made, these books. I think when you open it, I think this one's fine, but I think most of them, the pages, the spine would just come apart. And the fact that even like the cardboard outer is, it just showed, and this was probably one of those ones from the record shop where he got them, where he's like, thanks, there's, I don't know, a couple of bob for it, whatever it was, and just put it away at home. But yeah, there's a lot I got from him, which I just really treasured, because actually, they're quite, maybe not so much the later ones, but the earlier ones, Big Was for Sale and Help, etc. They were the ones that I think he really loved and played. So yeah, having all those, which are like in here somewhere, which is great. But this, I guess that's more than one item I've just shown you clearly. But I think the Abbey Road was the real sentimental bit, and I think cutting up the other one for for music homework was that could have been that was almost like a Beatles monthlies in a bin bag scenario.
So much trauma in your Beatles life. It's like a CBT session. This is, oh my gosh. In terms of content, that book though, there are photos in that book that are pretty much only pressed in there, aren't there?
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you watch Get Back, you can see the photographer taking all the pictures for the book.
Yeah.
And it is a cool book, but it's, at the time, because I hadn't seen the film, so that was the only kind of insight you had to it, was the pictures in there. Until I got a video of it like years later. But yeah, it's all a really good insight into what was going on in those 4 weeks in Savile Row and Twickers.
Is that kept next to your new box set as well then? Do you have them side by side?
No, this is kept in a very, very separate place, kept in a separate bag. Just because I'm just a bit paranoid about the corners and stuff. But it should go, because actually it's I quite like the Let It Be box set, because it's just really,
it's chunky.
It's massive, isn't it? You look at that, like the two together with all of its all of its bits in there. But
you could totally kill someone with that box set.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or break someone's foot if you dropped it very, very quickly from a high height.
You get blisters on your fingers, yeah. 100%.
So yeah, that's pretty much
that's cool.
Item one. So yeah, sorry, I kind of broke the rules out a little. I'll show you a few more. Which leads on to a nice tenuous link. So they were from a dad. So in the early 90s, 1990 in fact, so my parents divorced, and my mum and I and my sister and my new stepdad, we ended up in Bournemouth. Now, he's not around anymore, sadly, but he was a musician, and he was into the Beatles, and he was in this jazz band called the London Jazz Four.
Oh, wow.
Which was really cool. And it's a really, really cool album, actually. So it's a modern jazz take on, so you got I Feel Fine, Paperback Writer,
sick.
Things You Said Today, Ticket to Ride, etc. It's really cool. So I was quite into that when we kind of, met him, and he was showing me this, and he said, oh yeah, what's really cool is that the copy that he had got given to Paul. Apparently Paul fed back that he really liked it. Well, that's pretty sweet, because there's like 66 it was issued. But that failed into insignificance when he introduced me to his best mate, who was like a real family friend, who was, where is he? This guy here, in Sounds Inc. So obviously Sounds Incorporated were managed by Brian Epstein. They were basically the Beatles' backing band. Support band, sorry, when they were on tour. So early 90s. So this guy here, so you can see this. So this is the proper signed signature of the band. Sounds Incorporated, and that's, where is he there? So it's called Richard Thomas, but his stage name was Wes Hunter. You know, that's a cool name. So that is really cool. So the album is, again, it's really neat. It's all instrumental and stuff. It's really quite up pace and quite fast. But he would come down. Many years later, so this chap was he was a music rep for PV amps and instruments. So he would be like a bit of the rep. So he used to come and stay with us pretty like once a month. And every time he came down, he would bring with him like some stuff that he had from his kind of collection, because he worked with the Beatles. So he was like obviously one of Brian's kind of bands, and they were with them at Shea Stadium, in all the American tours. And he used to bring down these wads of photos that he'd taken on the plane with John and Paul and stuff. I just remember being like 15, just flicking through this, thinking, oh my God, this is just incredible. You know, and the sad thing is, he never gave any to me. He just used to show me. He never gave me anything.
Do we know where any of that stuff is now?
He sold it. So he said it all went to Sotheby's. So he sold it. He had his Shea Stadium tickets, his backstage passes, all of that stuff. And his wife was saying, "Oh, she give it to Justin." I think it was like, "No, I'm going to sell it," and he did it. I think he made quite a few bob by selling it. I thought, "You bastards, I could have had that."
Oh,
but it's really cool to think, these are kind of like the unsung heroes a little bit, because these were the warm-up bands that nobody wanted to hear at the gigs. And they're also at the Beatles show when they do like the Shakespearean thing. They're the band up on the galley.
Oh, that's them. That's cool.
That's them.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So they were with them for about till they finished touring. So 3 or 4 years they were with them. Dick used to drive around in the van. He used to take them round and all sorts, show George new chords. Honestly, the stories he used to tell me was incredible. So yeah, it was quite nice. So I've come away from quite a traumatic moment of kind of like parents splitting up to kind of like new dad in my life kind of bit was this musician, and then his best buddy was this guy. So I was like, actually, this is pretty cool.
Of all the stepdad stories out there, that's one of the best ones.
Yeah, he was a cool guy. Yeah, really cool guy. So he played double bass in the band, and then he had like bass guitars at home. And yeah, he was just a really, really cool guy. But they had a few albums, and actually this one, I think, yeah, because it's obviously Lennon McCartney, is really neat. But I managed to get another copy of this, just the one that's up on the wall actually, because they're quite rare. And to get these on eBay are quite tricky. So that's album 2, which is item number 2, which is all linked to the jazz element. And then number 3.
Just saying, folks, you can get the London Jazz Fours Take Another Look at the Beatles on Spotify. It is on Spotify.
Yeah, it's on there, isn't it? Yeah, and there's another one actually. There's it's like an Elizabethan one.
Yes. I'm just looking at that now.
Yeah, that's it's worth a listen. The Beatles one is better, I would say.
And Sounds Incorporated are in there. Yeah, I'm gonna go check these guys out. This is a listen. A little bit of homework, music homework.
So item 3 are, where are they? So these are rehearsal tickets to the New World Tour in Docklands Arena in 92. So I joined the fan club again at 14. It wasn't particularly cool to be in the Wings fan club.
It wouldn't be particularly cool now.
It was. And actually, the one thing I did leave up in the loft was all the club sandwiches. So they're all up there. But we just got this lovely letter through the post from the fun club with the Liverpool Oratorio stamp mark on the top saying, "Oh, Paul's doing a rehearsal, free tickets if you want to come along." So me and my mum went, and I thought, this is the first time I've ever gone to see Paul. So we trundled up there, and it was, I don't know, February. It's freezing cold. Queuing outside to get in, and we got straight in. I don't know how many people were there, probably a couple of thousand. We were right at the front, and honestly, I've never experienced anything like it. So they came on, they played 2 hours, I think it was, the whole band, the whole show, and just stood there literally in awe watching this this whole thing, and it's like, oh my god, this is just unbelievable. A, it's free, and B, it's like a bit of an idol up on stage watching. And it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. And I think, you know, seeing Paul since, you know, maybe 3 or 4 more times, that was just such an intimate kind of simple gig, because there was just no fanfare about it. There was no kind of like big screens. It's literally him on stage. So it's him and Linda and like the band with Wicks and Hamish and so on. And it was just incredible. And then we went a couple of years later, the following year, to the Earl's Court proper version, which was September the 11th. Yeah, so went to that one. And it was great. But not as great. That rehearsal really kind of like sticks at the top, because that was just so cool. And I just always remember at the end, they come on and I think they finished with a Mulligan Tire, so all the pipers came on, if I'm not mistaken. And they were like waving away at the end, and Linda, I always remember Linda just waved and did like the wings wave to me. She kind of went, I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's just so cool being here to see it. So that was pretty much that one, because again, that was just such the start of actually proper gigs to go to, a bit of fandom, going up there to see something really, really cool for free. And then I think while we were stood there in the gig, that's when we met some other people that would then go on to these Beatle meets later up at this hotel in London and buy more bits going up there. So yeah, that was pretty cool, the rehearsal. I don't know if it goes down as one of his best concerts on Wikipedia, probably not.
No, but I mean, throughout me doing this show and the podcast, everyone seems to be on that consensus. If you can somehow be present at a smaller, more intimate McCartney gig, it's always going to be the best, even when compared to the biggest of his shows. Though I find it insane that you've not listened to your copy of Off the Ground, and yet you saw him twice on the Off the Ground tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and still got that, was it that still in the bag, you know, from when I think it's even been nibbled by a mouse. Look at that, that's not good.
It looks like my copy of McCartney 1, 2, 3, actually.
Yeah. But no, that was definitely a cool thing to go and do, was to head up and see him live. But I can't find any recording of it. I don't think any, you know, back then there's no bootleg of it from what I could see. You know, there may be one out there, I don't know. But yeah, that for me was pretty awesome, just having the whole package as such, to go up there, see it, like almost like it was 1-to-1. It was so cool. And it's the first time my mum has seen him as well. So, you know, again, she'd been a fan for years, and we were both a little bit overwhelmed seeing him come on. Oh my God, you know, this is crazy.
No, my mum's probably my number one choice if McCartney does decide to play the UK again. Just because my one friend who did go and see him with me wouldn't want to see him again.
That's the thing, isn't it? And then, you know, because you listen to him now, and you know, when watching him, I think other Glastonbury, watching it at home, you know, he sounded okay, but you think he just needs to kind of just give it a rest now, because I think his voice is so kind of going, isn't it? You know, is that unsurprisingly at 80, you know, it's going to kind of start.
Well, yeah, like
changing a bit, isn't it?
With Glasgow and a lot of the off the ground, and a lot of the recent tour. Whenever he's had a chance to like warm his voice up a little bit, maybe sing the night before a little bit, always sounds better. But then with that Dave Grohl thing, when he came out with Christian,
it's like "Oh Darling," yeah,
it was like, oh cool, never played "Oh Darling" before, very very good. Performance of it, ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
a bit much, wasn't it?
It was a bit like a Lady Madonna, you'll be like, oh no, don't put that on the internet, Paul. Yeah.
Please don't do it, Paul.
No.
But yeah, still a few other times. I saw him at Hard Rock in Hyde Park, and what was the tour we did in the O2 in about 2009, like the Welcome Home tour, or something it's called. The Good Evening, everyone. Good Evening Europe tour. That was it. So, and again, that was pretty cool. We got really good seats right down the front with my mum again. But you could see that how he changed so massively in that time. You know, vocal range, and still the same songs and the same ad libs in the middle, and the same. You know, everyone on the left and everyone on the right, and all together.
And now the women, and now the
boys.
You know what? I wonder if he does that as much anymore. Maybe someone says, Paul, maybe don't engender the
Yeah,
audience
exactly.
against
You get into really bad trouble for that, wouldn't
and
you?
now those who identify as male, nah. There we go. That's how we do it. That's how we do it, folks. You know, you can always update the Beatles for them on the world. But let's see the next item. Come on, we're doing well. He's lost it. He's lost it, folks.
Lost it. Found it. So this is a really simple one. Love Me Do single, CD single, which came out in '92. So I won this on Radio 1.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And I got the letters here. So got the official Radio 1 letter saying,
this is Radio 1 before Chris Moyles came in and ruined it.
Yeah, so this would have been, Radio 1 would have been Simon Mayo did the morning show.
Oh, wow.
So he was like the breakfast DJ. And basically it was Beatles Day to commemorate, 40 years of, 30 years of Love Me Do. And every hour they'd ask a question, and you had to ring up and answer, what it was. So I was at school, and there was one phone. This is how old it was. There was one phone in the reception of the hall. I remember going out with my 10, listening to, I don't know how we even listened to it on the radio. Somebody must have had like a portable radio to hear the question. And I was trying to ring through, got through eventually, and I got the answer right. And it was about
on the school's phone.
On the school's phone, oh, it's brilliant, isn't it? And it was around what state or what venue was the last ever live gig that the Beatles played at in '66, which was obviously Candlestick Park. So I just did that, didn't think anything of it, and then and the prize was Love Me Do, or the main prize was the Chronicles, like the big Mark Lewison book.
Oh wow. Which
I didn't have that at the time. I thought I'd much prefer that. Anyway, this Love Me Do single turned up. Should have been a gold one, and it isn't. It's just a basic one. So I got a bit pissed off, to be honest. So made contact to Radio 1 again, and I got this really lovely handwritten letter back.
Oh wow, a handwritten letter, folks. A handwritten letter is something people would write each other when they wanted to communicate.
Yeah, they've actually used a pen. It's on paper from November '92. And it's actually from Kevin Howlett, who is the...
I've heard that name, yeah.
Yeah, he's the senior producer of Radio 1, who then went on to produce Live at the BBC.
Yeah.
So he did the live tapes 1 and 2. So it says in here, congratulations for winning the Love Me Do CD on 1FM's Beatlemania Day. And it goes on, as you imagined, it's not a gold tape, a gold disc. We were let down by the supplier. Anyway, I don't really be disappointed. So I've enclosed cassettes for 3 programs for my series, The Beebs Lost Beatles Tapes, broadcast in 1988. These shows feature sessions, songs that were recorded for BBC, including many songs that were never released on their Parlophone albums and singles. Keep these cassettes close to your chest. We're not really supposed to give out programs to the public. After all, we're a broadcasting organisation. So I've got this package turn up, all these discs, tapes in it.
Wow.
Which, unbeknown to me, will then go on and become live at the BBC.
Don't say you can't find them either.
They're in my loft still.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see those. They're definitely there. But I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I really wanted the gold one of that. I never got it. So and again, I've just kept that in an envelope.
That's worth so much more though now.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. And it wasn't until years later I found it again. I thought, I recognise the name Kevin Howlett. And obviously the penny the penny dropped that it was the producer of Live at the BBC. So I think he's still producing stuff and writing books and whatever. But that's a pretty cool item just to have. That's that and should have got the gold one though. They never produced it.
How let you down? That's
exactly. He did, yeah.
But I love stuff like that. A lot of the time, second place and consolatory prizes can sometimes be better than what you hoped for. I remember a friend of mine. We were at a Beatles night and there was a raffle, and the anthology DVDs had already gone. And I was a bit heartbroken because that was the one I really had my my eye on. And I gave my ticket to my friend, or my stream of tickets, and I went to the toilet and I was like, you know what? If my number comes up, you just grab me whatever. It doesn't matter. And I hadn't noticed that there was the anthology CDs just to the side, and he actually nabbed them for me. Which was a very nice one to grab, because my step uncle, one of my aunt's husbands, Morris, he had them, and then after he died, those got lost as well. So I was again running theme throughout the show.
It is, finding things that have been lost for many moons. But they are those three, aren't they? So they are pretty cool.
Can stop a 50 caliber bullet, those three can.
Yeah, like a proper cartridge going in.
No, if you were to play Cluedo in a Beatles room, there'd be many murder weapons. I think we've established here today. It was Sergeant Pepper in Abbey Road Studios 2 with the Let It Be box.
Yeah, brilliant.
Come on, find
last
item.
One.
Let's wrap this up.
I've left that one on the shelf, actually.
Elf on a Shelf.
So it's probably a well.
I had this in my one. I can't argue. I had a copy of Pepper too.
It's brilliant, and the reason why I can remember as a kid sat there, because again these albums were just upstairs in my parents' wardrobe, just flat like that, and I just used to sit. Remember looking at that and being mesmerised by the front cover.
Do you remember which ones were missing from the original collection?
What, from the front?
Which of your parents' collection?
Yeah. So, Please Please Me, with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, and Yellow Sub. So those four.
Oh, okay. So the obscure late one and the early stuff, basically.
Yeah, and actually with the Beatles, just before I show you that one, so this is the one. So I bought this. This bit of a tenuous link as well. I bought this from a record fair in Bournemouth. There's a big place by the pier. I don't know if you know it at all, but it's called the Pavilion, and they do record fairs, and still do. And opposite is the hotel where that photo was taken.
Oh, excellent!
Which is pretty cool. So and there's a big memorial. Memorial? No, that's the wrong word. There's a big thing about it in the hotel. It's now the Premier Inn of all things, but they've kept it. They kept in the Premier Inn. They've still got this bit where they're in this room with the curtain. Oh. But this is the one where I can remember listening to this on my own at home. So putting on my dad's record player, I recorded it onto a cassette. And I remember, again, this is a bit nerdy. I took it into school when I was probably about 9, I think, and it was a school sports day, and everyone was asked to bring music in to play cassettes for the school sports day. And everyone's taking them stuff off the chart.
Oh no, this is going to go bad.
Yeah, so I remember taking this in, and they played it, and I could remember that all the parents loved it, and the kids had no idea who it was. But the best thing about this, and what I love about this one, is this. So that, I don't know if you can see that. Is
that a newspaper clipping?
Let's put that behind it a little bit.
So that's like a key to show who everyone on the Pepper cover is.
So when my dad would have got this in 1967, apparently that was in the Daily Mail that day. So he cut that out. And obviously stuck on a bit of cardboard and a bit of tape on the back to work it out. And there's always stayed in there. They're 50 years on. I just think that's just so lovely. The fact he's have the foresight to think, I'll keep that because I've got no idea who these people are on the front. And it's just really nice that that's in there. The album's a bit, it's been well played, and it's still got its wavy sleeve and the
cardboard as well.
Yeah, inserts are in there.
Those kids who cut out those mustaches, I always think back to that bit with Jesus on the cross, like, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do.
He didn't mean to cut them out.
Yeah.
So he nearly cut the moustache out. He nearly cut Let It Be book up,
I bet he threw single sleeves away, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, my mum threw the Beatles monthlies in the bin, but he kept that. It's all this stuff.
This is a horrible episode. I'm not enjoying it.
It's all about the things that I should have in front of me now that have long gone. But what's really cool is that, for me, it doesn't mean anything to anyone really, but the sentimental piece behind that is lovely. The fact that he would have sat there, you know, with his scissors, cutting them out in the afternoon, and he put it from his dad's paper that he used by the mail every day, and brought it home, showed it to him, and he would have been 15 probably, I think, at that stage. So pretty very similar age to how old I was when he gave it to me. I just think it's just a really, really sweet bit of sentimental value. And obviously my kids are grown up, but they're saying, well, actually, this will pass down to them. And they'll probably sell it all. So
well, give them my number, you know.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm sure they won't. They realise just how sentimental it is all to me. And I think all the bits I've shown you are all really personal bits. You know, it's more about. Dude,
this really has been a sentimental journey. You know, to bring it back around to the start.
Yeah, bring it back around to Ringo's.
I mean, a lot of people tend to either go down one of two routes on this show. They either go for the most valuable, obscure, no one's ever seen this items, or they do what you do, which is I enjoy equally as well, which is the very sentimental, the very personal, personable story, and it's been wonderful hearing it.
No, it's been good. It's been nice to share. You know, it's not often you kind of do this. You know, you're with it. You know, working in here all day long, you forget that that's all there. But actually, when you start thumbing through the vinyls and brings back a lot of really lovely memories. So yeah, ones that I was going to keep very, very dear. And actually, yeah, it's just so nice to have these bits to hang on to. And, you know, I'm sure that one's probably worth about 20, 30 quid, but, you know, the White Album is Let It Be box set. You know, they're the ones that have pretty got the bit more kudos in terms of value, but actually it doesn't really matter to me. It's about the sentimental message and the thought that I've got that goes with it. So
I feel like I'm going to have similar memories in the future because my best friend Tom, who's been on the main podcast a lot, people love him, people hate him. That's on them. But when the Let It Be box set came out, he's been subscribed to Mojo as long as I've known him. Mojo gave a very nice printed, almost like vinyl laminated still from the Let It Be sessions. Very nice, professionally done. That's gone slipped straight in my Let It Be one. And he's done the same for me again for the Revolver one. So that's going to go in the Revolver box set when that gets there. And then, you know, obviously, I'm not going to assume any ages. That'd be very rude. But you're saying 30 years when I'm looking ahead and I'm going through my collection. World might be different. We might be friends. Yeah. Someone might not be alive anymore. It's going to be an incredible experience. And, you know, I think if we're going to do a plenary today, folks, what we've learned today is there's a lot of trauma in being a Beatles collector, number one. And if you need to, you know, mental health is very important, folks. And if you've been affected by any of the issues brought up in today's episode of Macca in Your Attic, there is a helpline across the bottom here. But the other thing we've learned is it's incredible the amount of significance and value we can put on arbitrary items and how it turns them from completely worthless to completely priceless. Like no one touches my copy of Sgt. Pepper. No one, you know.
Out of bounds. Yeah, absolutely.
I think we've had a more informative episode than normal. The swearing's been down. The dick jokes have been down. This is. I could almost show MPL this episode.
They would love it. Yeah, they would love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And MPL, one day you're gonna leave the door unlocked, and that's when I strike. But right, folks, my guest today has been Justin from @MyBeatlesVinyl on Instagram. Go and check out his page as soon as this is done. There'll be a link down below, of course, as well. But thank you for coming on and help keep this very irregular, erratically released show alive. And it's been great. It's been wonderful talking to you. And I'm full of emotion right now.
Brilliant.
Really am.
Well, good. I'm glad I made an impact. Yeah, fantastic.
Excellent, folks. You've been watching an episode of Macca in Your Attic. I've been your host, Sam Wells. Go check out Paul and I think and all the links down below. You know the drill. Play us out. Denny, peace and love.